Okay, everybody, welcome back to Sniper Gains. Now, if you don't know about me, my name is Ian Kiongera. I am a futures trader. So I mainly focus on using the CRT model whenever it comes to trading any futures products. So my future products of choice is NQES for equities, CJ for currencies, and then for the metals, GCHGS. Or silver. Speaking about silver, this stock or equity, this instrument dropped by 7% this day. It's crazy trade. Now I wish I did very well with that trade, but I allowed my emotions to get me messed up. I was actually in this trade right here, but I messed up by taking myself out of a very good setup. So let me kind of give you an idea of what happened. I'll show you my results today. So if I go to SL, I had an entry at around 6:14 Eastern to 6:14 Central Standard Time to 8:06 Central Standard Time. And I entered at 49.095. So let's go and see what happened. Now, this was a great CRT setup that I made a mistake on because I allowed my emotions to mess around with me. But it's still a great learning lesson. I'm just trying to see if I can pull it up right here. 1 second. I want to start new. So in this setup, if you look at it from 5, it was the 5 a.m. candle on the UTC4. So if you take a look at it, this would have been the 5 a.m. accumulation hour, Eastern Standard Time. This is the manipulation hour. This is the one I wanted to focus in on. So when I went in and I zoomed in, I marked out that 5-minute fair value gap. If you're not familiar with the system that I'm using, I highly recommend you check out the previous session where I kind of talked about the CRT. I will at some point create a dedicated video that shows you how to trade a bullish CRT and a bearish CRT the Sniper Gains way. But for right now, I'm just going to do a quick recap of the trade where I entered at a good position, but then I messed it up by allowing my emotions to get to me. So here in this hour is what I usually call the manipulation hour. So if I take a look here, my entry was at 49.09. So if we take a look here, 49.095, 49.095, 49.095. I was like right around here. And then I entered, what was it? At around 6:14 or 7:14 Eastern Time. So if you go to 7:14 Eastern Time, 7:14, so you're close to right here. So this was my actual entry, right about there. So this is what happened. I got into the trade. I literally, no joke, I literally did not stop myself out until the final pip. You see how close it was? It got that close and I didn't stop out. But guess what happened? As price started to go down, let me not say stupid, but these emotional thoughts came in saying, oh, maybe it's going to reverse. Maybe it's going to reverse. This is a huge drop. Maybe it will reverse. And I allowed that thought to get stuck in my head. And unfortunately, I got out at around, 49.06. I hate that I did that, but this is what happened. I went in. So as soon as it printed over here, I decided to get out right here. This was one of the very most frustrating moments. Let me pull it up 1 second. I got out right here. But as soon as I did that, price decided to go down for what would have been like a huge R trade. So I got myself out of here. Price was just basically consolidating and then it eventually, bam, hit that target. I was so pissed off at that performance because I knew that there was an A+ setup where it had the bullish SAR dots going bearish, which represents bearish momentum on the 1 hour time frame. It had the 50 EMA, it was underneath the 50 EMA, which is bearish. So there was a lot of bearish momentum going into it. One of the key lessons that I learned is I need to stick to the strategy. I got to follow the system even when price is consolidating, because that's how I'm going to be able to grow the account to the next level. It is frustrating that that happened to me. One sec. But I am going to have to learn from it. And I'm going to look at another trade setup right about now. Let's see if we can get a good setup tonight. There are no guarantees. And again, if you're following this stream, keep in mind, when it comes to trading, it's very, very risky. You can lose a lot of money. So if you're starting to follow the trades that I'm taking, keep in mind that if you lose money, that's on you. So keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a trader who likes to trade, basically. All right, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's check out the markets tonight. And give me 1 second. I'm going to put this on pause. I just want to make sure that the stream is broadcasting. 1 sec. All right, let's take a look at copper right now. So I'm looking or eyeing copper at the moment. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm noticing that gold is still very much bearish. Now, we are about to hit the new hour. I am slightly concerned about this dot because this is technically a bullish SAR dot. But that's why I'm looking to see if the next hour will close with that dot. If it does, I do have to tread a little bit lightly here. However, I'm taking a look at GC. I'm anticipating that it'll keep going down. However, it can easily reverse. So in a situation like this, I have to kind of weigh out my options real quick and see what makes sense. So what makes sense to me at the moment is going to be copper. Reason why copper is a nice fit for my analysis at the moment is because of a few things. Number one, it's below the 50 EMA on the 1 hour. Check. Number two, it has the bearish SAR dots, but if we take a look at this hour right here, let me clear it so you can see it. You will see there's a tiny dot right here that signifies bullish momentum. Now, okay. So now I'm looking over here and I do see another dot that signifies bullish momentum. So this is going to be a very unique play. This could be a play where it can disrespect it, but I do see that these two dots are here. So at the moment, I'm just going to observe and see what's going on. I'll take a look at GC and see if it has shifted. Again, even GC at the moment is showing these two dots. I was hoping it would have shifted up so that way it could signify a bearish continuation. But with the dot being below, it is more of a bullish momentum. So there's a good chance it could try to push up this way. So at the moment, because that is happening, the best course of action is I'm going to have to look and see if I can find an A plus setup. And my definition of an A plus setup is pretty simple. First things first, the 50 EMA. If I'm looking for a bearish setup, the hourly candle needs to be below the 50, and the hourly candle needs to have the SAR dots above. That means that we're in a bearish directional bias and a bearish momentum. Here we have one of two. It has the bearish momentum, the bearish directional bias by it being under the 50 EMA. But if you look over here, there's bullish momentum starting to pick up because it did a flip. Keep in mind, this price has started going down all the way since Monday at 10 p.m. So there's a good chance it might reverse and go up a little bit more. It's unfortunate because I would have loved to keep going, but I do have to practice good risk management, and I do really need to start keeping or following these rules. So I don't know if we'll find a good setup tonight, but I'm going to keep the stream rolling for about maybe 2 to 3 hours. If I don't find anything during the Asia session, I'm going to focus and try to make sure I can at least be up to trade the London session if there's an opportunity. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we're going to take a look at both. Now, this is very interesting right here. So this is silver. So silver is in a unique position. It is showing me the bearish SAR dots going down. It is below the 50 EMA. However, the GC is going a little bit bullish, while SI is about to take out these dots. So whenever it gets that close, I tend to hesitate a little bit because there's a good chance it will flip past this. And if it flips past that, it would be very frustrating. So this is one of those situations where even though technically textbook wise, it is following the strategy, my gut says that this will not hold just because of how close we are to the SAR dot. The closer it gets, the higher the probability is for it to flip the opposite direction. And that's a concern. And I'm seeing that gold has still that bullish momentum. So for right now, when it comes to the metals, there's not a really good play for me to take yet. So we're going to keep eyeing gold, try to see what it's doing, but we can still take a look at the other tickers. So I'm going to look at 6J. 6J is in a unique spot. At the moment, it also had a huge drop down, and it has started to pick up some momentum. Now with 6J, the only thing that's holding this back from being an A+ setup is it's below the 50 EMA. So it's in a unique situation where that if I did take this trade, technically, it would be considered a counter trend trade. Now, the thing about counter trend trades, it's not that it doesn't work. It's just the likelihood of getting to hit my target becomes a little bit slimmer because I'm now dealing with the bearish directional bias of the 50 EMA pushing on the hourly candles. So this one is more on pause at the moment, but we're still going to keep checking and seeing if there's any play that we can take advantage of. At the moment, I'm scanning ES and NQ to see if there's any setup whatsoever that I could take advantage of. At this moment in time, I'm not seeing a cool, clean play yet. So I'm going to pause on NQ and ES. I'll just keep an eye on it, but we'll take our time. We're not going to rush this. We're just going to try to see if we can catch a good setup. Speaking of setups, I'm going to take a look at this one right here. Now, this one does fulfill our requirements. It's above the 50 EMA. It has the bullish SOAR dots at the bottom. So let's take a look and see if there's any potential entry over here. So we're going to go here. I'm going to take a look because I know it's filling the other. It seems like it might be a good play, but let me see. Okay. So this is looking interesting. It's looking interesting. It's not perfect, but let's see if it's within our risk parameters. Since at the moment with Topstep, my current balance is $4,056.71. The way I run my system is from 0 to $3,999. I risk about $250 to $300. As soon as I go above that 4,000 plus, I switch to 10%, but that 10%, I'd like to split it into thirds. So ideally, I'm essentially risking about 3.33% of my profit balance per trade whenever I'm about above $4,000 on average. Sometimes it can be a little bit higher. Sometimes it can be a little bit lower. So let's take a look at CL. It does look promising. So it has formed that 5-minute fair value gap, which I'm always looking for. Now, the only concern is I need to see if it fits my risk. So one of the benefits of using TradingView is I can be able to calculate my risk and see if it makes sense for me to take this trade. So from over here, if I were to take 3 of them, I could get about 540. It's not bad. And it's $120. So $120 plus what it would cost for me to do a CL trade. I'm going to look at my price comparison chart real quick. 1 second. Got to pull it up real quick. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at the Topstep fees for the Project X XFA. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to control find, and then I'm going to type in CL. CL, it's about $3.04. So 304 times 3 is about 912 plus 120, it's about 129.12. So that does fit my risk parameter. So with that being said, now I'm going to go to Topstep and I'm going to look for CL. Ticker symbol CL. Then, with that being said, I'm going to look, see if we have a setup, because this could be an okay entry. It just depends on how it wants to move. So I'm going to go to 5-minute. Then I'm going to draw my 5-minute fair value gap. And I'm going to draw my box. So ideally, the bet is price will go up, tap, and then when it taps here, it'll have enough momentum to go and take out the buy stops from the, the 8 o'clock accumulation hour. So we're going to set it like this. Now, there are only 2 times that this becomes invalid is if it hits this target before filling in this gap, it's invalid. If it fills this gap and takes out the swing low during the manipulation hour, it's invalid. So we'll see what it does. I do like the risk. I'm spending $120 risk plus basically $9.04 for $9.12. Basically for the fees. I'll just label that as fees for 3 contracts. So when you add that up, we're looking at about 129.12, which does fit my risk. So I'm going to put that on the side so I can have a visual. And then at this stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, limit by 3. And I always like to use a limit by because I want to be able to align it. So the goal is if it were to tap here, okay, I would then adjust my stop loss to fit right over here. Now, based on the calculations that I had done on TradingView, I know that it's going to cost me $120 plus $9.12. However, if it's right, I could be walking out with $540 minus 902, which we're anticipating, or 912, which we're anticipating should be around $530 on both accounts. That's not bad. So we'll see what the market does. And let's just say it doesn't turn out to be a winner. What we'll have to do is we'll have 2 more shots, right? Ideally, I want to reserve any shot that I take to be on an A+ setup. So this one is much better setup in my opinion than the other setups that I'm seeing currently with the metals, because they, at least both sides, the EMA, which judges my directional bias, and the bullish SAR dot, which helps me to see or gauge momentum, are both have bullish alignment. And that's what I'm looking for. So that way I can trade a high probability CRT entry. Now, I need to label this so that way it's easier. So this right here is known as the accumulation hour. So this is the 8 o'clock hour. We are on UTC4, which is Eastern time. So I'm going to click here, go to text. I'm going to type in 8 p.m. Eastern accumulation hour. Then I'm going to copy this box again, copy, paste, move it over here. And this one, I'm going to label it as the 9 p.m. manipulation hour. And all of this is in EST time. And then finally, from here onwards, I'm going to write the distribution hour. So the distribution hour, I'm anticipating for something like this. I can always change it, right? It's going to be from 10 to probably maybe 2 o'clock. So 10 to 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. distribution hour. So A is the A part of AMD, M is the M part of AMD, and D is the D part of AMD. So we have this set, and pretty much my train of thought is I'm hoping price will fill this gap first prior to hitting that target. However, based on the momentum, it could hit that target. And if it hits that target, basically what happens is we'd have to clear all the drawings and redo it again, with 9 o'clock being the new accumulation hour. So let's see what the market does, and we'll see what happens. So that's one play that I have ready to go, which is going to be on CL. I'm going to take a look at the other stocks and see if I do see any other additional setups I can take advantage of. So I'm going to go quickly through my list. NQ above the 50 EMA, but has the bullish SAR dots, so can get kind of tricky with that one, so we'll skip that. Same thing with ES. 6J, I'm really liking for it to go up, but it's still below the 50 EMA, so no trade on that one. GC has the bullish SAR dots, which does signify as bullish momentum. However, it's below the 50 EMA. So it's in that undecided zone, but based on the way the price is moving, there's a good chance it will still go up. It just gets kind of tricky because I personally don't like having to trade a counter trend move. I personally like trading a pro trend move. So I'm just going to have to pause on that. Same concept with HG. Yes, as you can see, and this is a perfect example of why this is important. Look at this. You see how it looks like it could have been bearish? Like if I didn't have these SAR dots, it being up below the 50 EMA, you're seeing this very long wick. Give me 1 sec. Okay, so this is a good example. In this example, right, if we were to look in, put the arrow, put the vertical line. So this is the 8 p.m. Eastern accumulation hour. This from 9 to 10, that will be the manipulation hour, right? So let's say we go to the 5 minute. So here we are at the 5 minute marker. So just like that, if I had put my stop loss here, it would have already taken me out. Now, the reason why I was hesitant about taking this move was solely because of the SAR dots right underneath it. So if I didn't have these little dots, I probably would have taken that play because technically it formed that 5 minute fair value gap, which I would have used as an entry. But part of this system that I'm using is I use both of these indicators to help filter me out of as many bad CRT setups as I can. The 50 EMA is very good at helping me with judging the directional bias, but the SAR dots, where they thrive in is it helps me to see the momentum of the play. So if it's bearish, you'll kind of give me an idea of how strong that momentum is by the distance it is from the candle. So whenever we have a fresh beginning momentum change, the space between the candle's top and where the SAR dot is much bigger. But as you start to get really close, that distance becomes smaller. The smaller the distance, the more likely it is to flip. That's why I chose not to take on this trade. Now, if we take a look at the CL trade, it'll most likely hit anyway. But when I was taking a look at it in terms of analyzing it, is that it formed the 5 minute fair value gap, what I typically look for, but it also had the bonus confluence of having it being above the 50 EMA, which represents bullish directional bias for me, and the 1 hour SAR dots, which represents bullish momentum for me. And take a look at how huge that distance is. So there's a good chance that that momentum can keep going. The only problem is it will most likely hit the target without filling in my entry. And if that happens, that's kind of sucks. There's nothing I can do about that because we can't force bad trades. We have to just follow the trading plan. So based on my judgment, I feel like it will most likely hit this zone first before hitting here. And if that happens, we have to remove the drawings and redo this whole thing all over again, with the new accumulation hour being the 9 o'clock hour. So let's see what happens. Whatever happens, it's whatever happens. So we'll just have to wait. We've got to be patient and keep moving, keep doing what we got to do. Okay, so let's keep analyzing this and seeing what we got to do next. So that's CL. I'm going to take a look at the other tickers here. Usually, I'm personally not a fan of trading these other tickers because most of the time they may have a good setup like this, but then they just don't respect it. And it always infuriates me whenever that happens. So for example, this is another setup right here. It will most likely give me a 5-minute fair value gap of some kind. But I haven't had really good chances with this CE trade. So I'm going to be more reserved about trying to use this trade setup. I'm just going to kind of be more on the fence. That's the right term. I'm trying to do it on CE, so I'm just going to stay away from CE for right now, just because it tends to, I'm not say give me a hard time, but it's not exactly the easiest stock to be working with. At the moment over here, we have the RTY. It's about to go past the 50 EMA, but it still has a lot of bearish momentum. So there's a conflict in direction. So there isn't a good, strong bullish alignment. So with this one, I would stay away from. This one, kind of similar to what's happening with NQ and ES. This one, again, not the best or the easiest setup to work with. It's very expensive. And sometimes the market isn't responding very well to the CRT setup with these ones. So I just have to wait and see if there is going to be any good setup. I'm trying with the CL, not going to lie, just because it looked really good. And it has already hit the target. So we'll just have to cancel the order. And just going to have to wait and see if we have any other setups we can take advantage of. I'm just going to keep this stream running for just probably like 2 more hours. So we had 30 minutes in, so that's not too bad. But I'm just giving it enough time. Because if I close the stream now and there's a big, good play, that would suck. Because obviously I want you guys to see what's going on. So anyway, right now I'm just waiting to see if there's any setup that I can take advantage of. I want to take a look at the Japanese yen, try to see if there's anything here. So the Japanese yen is a unique one because it has been dropping for a very long time. Since October 20th at 9 a.m., it's been dropping. And now, basically during the New York session, it started to kind of build up some momentum. Try to see if it can go up. Now, there's a good chance it might be pivoting, but this is more of a risky counter trend move, which I'm not a fan of, but let's see if there's any opportunity. If it makes sense, I might try, but if it doesn't make sense, then I might skip it. So we'll see. We'll take a look and see if it makes sense in terms of risk, in terms of everything that we're doing. So let's take a look. I'm going to adjust here. I need to look at how much this trade would cost me. So let's take a look. So if I bought 4 of these, I got up to here, that would be about $4.75. But when it comes to 6J, it is very expensive, like super expensive to take these kind of trades. That sometimes that if I'm doing it, I almost feel like I have to push to really push it past the 3.8. Because if we take a look at the fees that I'm charged on 6J, this is what I get. So Control F and let's type in 6J. I pay about $3.24. So $3.24 times 4, that's about 1296. It's not a problem if it's a good setup. This one at the moment, it's a what you'd call a counter trend setup. I have taken them before because I'm capitalizing on basically on the momentum, and I'm anticipating that price is going to push to try to test the 50 EMA. However, that's risky. It's not that it's wrong, it's just risky. So for me personally, I don't mind the risk, but I would have to drop the amount that I'm putting in. So like, for example, because it's 1296 and I really do want to give myself a little bit of cushion, here's what I would do. So I would go here, run my calculations, drop it to about 93, which would be about 356.25. However, that 324 times 3, 324 times 3 is 972. 972 plus 93.75. I can work with a $103 worth of risk, because if I can work with that, that will be an okay trade for me. So I'm going to run the numbers real quick. 103.47. So it would be 93.75 plus about, what was it, $9.72 for fees. So fees for 3 minis. If it can give me that, I'm willing to risk 103.47 for that. But let's see what it shows. So we're going to look at the 5-minute, and we're going to see if it will hold this 5-minute fair value gap. This is a risky play. This is more of a counter trend play. Now, because it's counter trend, bare minimum for me personally is I want it to close above this box by 10:55. If it does and it leaves this 5-minute fair value gap, I'm willing to take that trade. It's risky trade, absolutely risky trade, but it's well within my risk parameters, so I can at least have 2 more shots, because the way price is working, it's going to get a little dicey. I will put it that way, because gold, it wants to go up, but based on how hard it dropped, I personally don't feel comfortable taking a long on gold yet. I do feel a little more comfortable taking a long on 6J, but I do want it to close at 65, or was it 10:55? It needs to close above this line right here. So it is forming this. At least I'm going to switch to 6J. This is what I would consider a counter trend play. I personally prefer going more with the bullish direction, because then I have a better confluence. But based on what I'm seeing right now with the market, and maybe just me, I'm looking to try to see if I can catch a trade early, so I don't have to spend all night hunting for a trade. So it is what it is. I will go over here, still make sure I'm using good risk. I'm going to draw my box. That's the first 5-minute fair value gap. That's going to be our main focus of attention. It has officially formed it, which is good. I ideally would want it to form that 5-minute, that CRT, by patiently waiting for it to hit 55. Now, I know it's 9:30 or 10:30 right now. I could just patiently wait for 20 more minutes, I'll feel more comfortable taking this trade if I can see it close above, especially since I'm doing a counter trend move. That is one thing I want to do. Now, we have that set. I know that what my risk is going to be. So what I will do is I'm going to go to here. So 93.75. Okay, 93.75. So I'm going to write that down here for 3 contracts. So 3 mini contracts. So it's going to be 93.75 plus 9.72 for the fees for the 3 contracts. Fees for 3 minis equals the cost of 103.47, which is well within my risk parameter. So I'm going to put that here. So this is good, my guide, so I visually know what's going on. Now, because I am taking this trade, I am going to try to see if I can shoot for the stars a little bit. So whenever I have a trade set up like this, that's 3.5 or more, I will usually try to see if I can push it to go past that using a special technique that I've dubbed the 5-minute fair value gap trail. You'll kind of see what it looks like if it does give us an opportunity. So we'll see if it does make it. So here we go. That's where the 2R spot will be. And all of this will make sense as I do this, okay? Just let me do my thing, and I'll explain everything a little bit later. So 2R, was it 2R? Okay. Then I'm going to go 12 here. Okay, so that's good. So the idea of this is if price were to fill this gap, go past here, I would raise my stop loss to 2R, and I would trail based on any 5-minute fair value gap that forms out completely outside of this nice big yellow rectangular box, aka the 9 p.m. accumulation hour. So that's basically what I'm looking for. We at, was it 10:30? So 10:30, I'm gonna wait until it says 55. If it does give us an opportunity, awesome. If it goes without us, that's okay. We can always wait for another trade. That way I'm able to control my risk. Now, if price goes bonkers and like pushes, I will try to see how far it can push. So I'm going to put little markers just so I can kind of understand, where I'm at in the trade. So like, let's just say I get to a 6R. It's good to know, where we are in this journey. I'm going to put that here. So I'm going to put that as 6R. See 6R. Let's move that down here. And then if it really wants to go super ballistic, then I'm going to put a 10R. But that, you never know. You never know. It's just one of those situations where we have to see what happens. Either way, I'm using good risk management, and I'm just trying to see if we can catch a big one. So I have that set pretty much ready to go. I just need to wait for 55. So let's see what happens. We'll just wait it out. And I think with that being said, I'm going to take a scan at other setups, see if there's anything that is good, that is cooking, that I really, really like. Right now, based on everything that I'm seeing, I'm waiting to see if there's any good setup on HG, just in case the 6J doesn't work out, or GC. We'll take a look. We'll see what happens. It's just one of those things where I have to kind of play by ear. And ES, it's a unique one. It's still battling the star dots over here, so I'll still keep an eye on it, see if it does give me any good setups. But in the meantime, I'm more cautious about this because overall it has been going up for quite some time, unlike 6J, which has just been going down for a long time. it does have a chance to push up. I'm anticipating it'll want to retest the 50. It's not guaranteed. Nothing that I do here is guaranteed at all. That's why you want to practice good risk management whenever you trade. It's going to save you a lot of pain if you practice good risk management. So give me a second. I just want to see a few things. Okay, we should be good. Stream looks healthy. Awesome. If you have any question, guys, just let me know. Write it in the comment box below. And boom. Okay, so I don't want to have too many things going on over here. Only the bare necessities. So we're going to stay like this. We should be good. And let's see what happens. Now, if this price does go and take out that high, it means that this trade setup is invalid. And I would have to look for another one. So we'll see what happens. I already know how much I'm willing to risk, what I'm anticipating I would be charged if it doesn't go the way I think it does. So whenever we do these kind of things, we just have to take some chances sometimes. But ideally, I prefer to trade with the 50 EMA and the bullish short dots in alignment with each other because it tends to give me more of an A+ setup. This setup that I want to take right now, I would classify it as a B setup because it's below the 50 EMA. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if it will give us an entry. Okay, so testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. I should be back. Now we are about to hit 9, or basically, sorry, 11 o'clock. So this is important because this is the 55 candle. The goal is we want to make sure it closes above this line right here. So we should be closing right above here right now. Okay. So testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1. Okay, so it officially closed right inside the box. So if we take a look at this on the 1 hour time frame, you'll see it successfully created a bullish CRT setup because it closed inside of the range. The range being the 9 p.m. Eastern accumulation hour. So the table is set for it to fill the gap. Now, if it fills the gap, it'll either stop me out by taking out the lowest swing low, which is here, or it will fill this gap and take out the swing, or take out the buy stops on the 9 p.m. accumulation hour. So either way, this is where we sit on our hands. We wait. We're going to put this on full screen and see what happens. So here we go. There we go. And we just sit and watch. Okay, it's starting to approach that 5-minute fair value gap that was created on the 10 p.m. manipulation hour. So we're going to see what happens. So you guys can kind of see it clearly. The 55 hour already ended here. I'm going to move this slightly so you can kind of see the fair value gap. Once it fills, I'm going to put it back here. But let's see. Let's see what happens. So at the moment with the with the instrument a 6J, it hasn't moved for some odd reason, but in the next few minutes, we should see some sort of movement. I'm anticipating it will fill this gap marked with the yellow box that you see right over here. When it fills the gap, we'll then see if it will hold or if it will take out the swing low during the 10 p.m. manipulation hour. So now it's just mainly a waiting game. Now it's just mainly a waiting game. Okay, as we're taking a look at the price action, it's starting to form some bearish candlesticks, which I'm anticipating it's going to target that 5-minute fair value gap. So all we're really doing right now is just waiting, seeing what happens. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment box below. I'd love to answer any questions you may have about the strategy that I'm using. Okay, I'm starting to see that let's take a look at this. The 1105 candle is starting to go down even further towards that 5-minute fair value gap. So we'll just take a look, see what we're doing. Now, the key thing about this trading system is whatever happens, I have to fully accept the risk. So one of the key things that I do is I try to trade smaller, but fully accept the risk. So that way it makes it a lot easier for me to follow my system, because as soon as this hits, if it does push upwards, that'll be awesome. That'll be great. But if it does start to push upwards, sometimes it's not necessarily a very fun ride to the top. So because of that, I have to control risk by knowing my numbers ahead of the time before I can even place this trade. And I have to fully accept 103.47. If anything were to happen and 103.47 were to be deducted from my balance, I have to be okay with it. Because as soon as this hits, no matter what, we're not going to raise the stop loss until it hits the box. When it hits the box, the top part where we have the buy stops, then I'm going to raise it to a 2R with the anticipation of it continuing upwards. So it's about showtime. So let's see what happens. So it should trigger me in. Come on, buddy. Come on. Trigger me in. Come on, buddy. Trigger me in. I know I'm on the right account. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Waiting for it to trigger me in. It's filling the gap, but I'm hoping it'll poke out just one tick lower. Should take me in. Please, come on, buddy. Come on. Come on. Come on. So this is very important that I have to stick to my rules. In a situation like this, it's very easy to want to do a market buy order, but I have to follow my limit order because it has to be precise. If I try to do a market order, it can give me a bad fill, and I don't want to do that because it'll throw off my risk settings. So I have to wait for it to fill. So sometimes it can do this where it will go in, fill the gap, and then just skyrocket up, which would be very annoying. But if that were to happen, cannot move this stop until it triggers me in. Then I continue, because the whole part about this is I have to have discipline and I have to simply execute the edge as much as I can. So at this stage, I'm just waiting to see if it will trigger me in, and then we'll see what happens. I'm looking towards the side of my phone and I'm seeing that gold is already at 17.3. So that's going to be very interesting. I'm anticipating that gold is going to go up a little bit more. So if that happens, that'll be awesome. Okay, it's pretty close to triggering my order. So my order is set to the pip. So I'm just waiting for it to trigger before I can be added into the trade. and I am on the right account. I'm on the leader account. So by being on the leader account, it's going to copy trade the results on this account to my other account as well. If I have to do any trailing, any stop loss movement, it has to be on my leader account. Okay, so the order has been filled. So we raise our stop loss here, 93.75. We move our stop loss to over here, which is like 356.25. Now, the way I'm going to play this is we're going to put it on full screen. The goal now is we want it to fill the gap, which it has done. And from here, we're anticipating hopefully there's going to be a lot of bullish momentum to push it up. However, anything can happen. So that's why we have our risk set to 93.75. And then we'll see what the market decides to do. So when a trade like this has now been initiated, what I have to do is basically hands off until it hits this zone right here, or basically the box. When it hits the top of the box, then I can raise to a 1 to 2. So even if it came to the worst, the price action just hit it and just completely went down the other way, it would be stopped. I would be technically stopped at a 1 to 2. That's if it gets there. Okay. One thing I've learned about the market is it can do whatever it wants. You just have to prepare in terms of your risk ahead of time, which we have. We've done our job. Now we just have to wait and see what the market decides. So at this moment in time, pretty much hands off until we get to that stage. And if that happens, right, then it can give me an opportunity to see if I can be able to use the sniper gains trail. If it doesn't work out, then in the worst case scenario, if it already hits here, I can at least secure a 2R. But it's very important for me to at least try, especially with a setup like this, because you don't necessarily always get a 3.8R setups all the time. Like, when they do come, you do want to try to maximize it. And at the moment, right now, it makes more sense for me to take that opportunity because I'm still positive on the week, right? So I'm still positive on the week. So if I take a look at the week, you will see that I'm up by 267.72. If I was down on the week, what I would do is I would just target that accumulation hour and let it stack up. But right now, since I have a little bit of cushion for the week, I want to use that momentum to see if I can convert this 3.8R setup to something a little bit higher, maybe like a 4 or a 5. I mean, like a 5 or maybe a 6. Okay? Give me 1 second. I'm about to sneeze. I shouldn't have said sneeze. I meant cough. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so now looking at this, we're going to zoom in. So the way it's going, it's most likely going to take out this stop. So that would be a loss of $93.75. The hope was by it filling, it would push up. But in this scenario, because we were going counter trend, the sawdust were not strong enough to be able to counteract the bearish directional bias that we're still are working with. It's not a problem. It just means that if we take a hit on this one, we really need to control our risk management. So it's all good. We just have to keep taking the trades. As price is going towards this stop loss, you'll probably see that I am not trying to stop myself out of the trade. I am fully accepting the full risk because I did all of that work in the beginning. You know, understanding, okay, this is about what I'm willing to risk. This is how I want to control this, this, and this, and this. So this was one setup that I was willing to take. It was counter trend, but I still stick by the trade and I have to deal with any losses that comes along with it. So sometimes it will dip down pretty hard. That's the one thing about this trading system is you do experience deep drawdown initially. It's the part where a lot of people might not enjoy that. But a lot of the times, even after going through that deep drawdown, if you are willing to stick to it over a long period of time, then you'll start to see you're catching like really good trades. But you just have to have the discipline not to touch the mouse, not to mess around with it, not to move your stop loss, not to do anything until it hits the target. Then I can move my stop loss to a 2R. So if this is going to be a loss, we take the loss, we move forward, and we're going to look for another trade. Hopefully we can get one tonight, but if not, we'll probably have to try to do another stream during the London session maybe. We'll see what happens. It is what it is. So let's see what it decides to do. Okay, we'll see if this bullish candlestick will actually hold the price or not. We'll see what happens. Okay. So for you guys, you're going to be able to see the price over here. Right now, whenever I'm doing these trades personally, I usually probably would walk away just for my mental sake and everything. But for right now, what I've done is I'm mainly just focusing on the price action here. You guys are going to be more focused on the price action over here because I don't want to rob you guys from seeing the full experience of what it feels like to go through trades like this. But we'll see what happens. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, it just jumped up and now it's starting to form another red candlestick. So I don't know if that just formed the lower high to push down. So we'll see what happens, but at this stage in time, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, while that's cooking, I'm going to see if there's any favorable setups that we could probably capitalize on tonight. So let's see. Okay, I think it might stop us out in about a few minutes. So if that's the case, we're going to keep looking for some good setups. In the meantime, while that's going on, and if it does stop us out, I do want to complete my journal entry for the trade that I had on silver. So we'll see what happens with this one. But I think, I don't know. I don't know if it'll. We'll see. I don't want to speak negativity or anything like that. Like, it's just more of like, we'll see. We'll just see what happens. Whatever happens is whatever happens. But one thing I will say, the volume is kind of dry with 6J. So my gut is telling me just if it does go up, probably to close at the top of where it is right now. Just because the volume, the way it's moving is not moving with a lot of volume. Let me actually see if there is volume here. Yeah, like the volume is like kind of thin volume, not a lot. So we'll see what happens, man. I ideally would want it to have a lot more volume to kind of push past that target. But if the volume is kind of thinly traded right now, then I may just have to just hit the target and just call it a night. If it does hit, we're still in the red zone, so we don't know what's going to happen next. We just have to wait and see if it either hits our stop loss or take profit. But I may have to adjust where the take profit is still where it's supposed to be, always at the top of the accumulation hour whenever you sweep the bottom. But we may have to adjust the idea of having to push past that 4R if the volume is kind of dry. So we'll see what happens. But either way, we're not moving it until it gets to the top of that box. Take profit or stop loss. It's just the way this system works. And that's what I have to follow no matter what. Stop loss or take profit. The way I control risk is by keeping my costs, relatively low to my profit balance. So that way I can afford to take trades, but be consistent with the target that I want to hit. Now, in this case, 6J will decide what it wants to do. If it stops us out, that's okay. We're going to have to journal it. If it goes to the take profit, that's awesome. We still got to journal it. So we'll see what happens based on the candles that are forming right now, because we are definitely in the deep drawdown stage. But we still stick to the game plan. We still stick to it. We still follow our risk management. That is the benefit of knowing your risk ahead of time. Highly encourage you, with whatever strategy you're using, you should know how much it's going to cost you, so that way you can plan properly. So you can plan properly. So we'll see what happens after this. Hopefully it will push up, but no guarantees. So we're going to just sit here and wait. And in the meantime, I'm going to start looking at some of my journals. So give me a second here. I'm going to try to keep it. I wish I could do double, but let me see here. Okay. We're definitely going to be looking back and forth on this. But in the meantime, I do want to go to my TradeZilla real quick. And I'm working on completing my journal entry for the SIL trade that I took later on in the morning. So pretty much I got to fill in all this stuff. So give me a second. I'm just going to be looking and seeing what that would look like. Let's see. Because we can't even move anything anyway. It will either tell us order filled, as in the stop loss was hit, or order filled that the take profit was hit. So I'm just going to move that to the side. I just want to start looking at something else real quick. What did I trade? SIL. All right, we're going to go here. Because it doesn't make any sense for me to just keep staring at this for all day. I might as well record this information right here, which I need anyway. So now you can get to see something a little different. You'll still be seeing the P&L right over here, but then we're going to still go back and get that sorted out. So the reason why I want to journal this is because if let's just say this trade over here doesn't work out for whatever reason, I need to make sure that I'm not falling too far behind on my journaling. So what I'm doing at the moment is I just need to log this portion right here. So I'm going to go record this graph right here. So this was the 5:30 candle. So we're going to type that as 5 a.m. accumulation hour, EST. And what I'm doing right now is I'm essentially journaling where I entered and where I exited on that SIL trade that I referred to like in the beginning of the stream. I never got a chance to complete my journal entry. So you can kind of get to see a little bit of what's happening. I'm still going to be checking in on the trade so we can kind of see the progress. But at this point in time, it probably will take a little bit of time for all this to happen. If it does say order filled, I'll keep you guys posted on that. So give me a second here. Copy. Paste. So what I'm doing now is I'm drawing the full setup that I had for the SIL trade in the beginning. I entered here, but I exited here because of FOMO, because of fear. I could have gotten here and made like around maybe $500, but that's on me. So I still got to record it. Now we're going to move here. I want to take a photo of what happened. So that's going to be 7 to about, I think 9 a.m. distribution hours. I'm going to go here. What was it? Yeah. Then I'm going to take a nice snapshot of everything so that I can see what it looked like. So here we go. Control print screen. I'm going to escape. Currently, we're at minus 1875. So that way we are aware of what's going on. Minus 1875. Okay. So now we're going to go back to TradeZella and we're going to replace some of these templates, because basically I create a template for all of my journal entries, and what you're going to see here is what it looks like for each one, at least for the bearish 1 hour CRT trade. So if I go to SIL, which was the trade that I took on today, I'm going to just click remove drawings, and we mainly want to focus on the candle that we used. Now, the cool thing about being on TradeZella, especially if you have even the Essentials package, is you can use the trade replay to take you back in time to see what it looked like before you entered the trade. So there we go. I'm going to go here. This line is referring to the 5 a.m. accumulation hour. So I'm going to write that down. 5 a.m. accumulation hour, EST. So I want to put that here. And then over here, I'm going to draw a vertical line that represents the 50 EMA. So any 1 hour candle below the 50 EMA equals bearish directional bias. Okay. Now, once I have this set, now I'm going to take a photo of this. I'm going to control print screen. Or actually, no, I'm going to use my snipping tool. So I'm going to copy that. And then we're going to go and see. So right now, we'll take a look at this. So over here, it was bearish. So you'll see at that moment in time when it formed that bearish CRT, it was below the 50, which is a bearish directional bias. And if you see the little tiny dots, that's going to be the bearish SAR dots. Over here is the actual play. So I'm going to open image in new tab. And basically what happened is it formed that 5-minute fair value gap. I used a late entry because it was going to be very expensive, around $200 for me to enter the trade. So I used a late entry to reduce my risk, which was good. However, I was willing to go all the way here, but then as soon as it came back up, I started to get emotional, and I closed off for a $35 profit per account, which was horrible. However, it did go up and then went all the way down. So that was definitely frustrating, but that's part of what happens when you get emotional. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get better at not getting emotional with this trading stuff. But it is a journey, and I'm just working on getting better at it. So I'm going to retake this photo again, because I feel I can get a better snapshot than this. So here we go. And then now we are going to just to update you guys. It's on minus $18.75. It's on the real account. It's just I'm thinking you might want to see something a little bit different. And just staring at it for so long. So there we go. There we go. Now, to go over my bearish 1 hour CRT rules, make sure that the accumulation 1 hour candle is below the 50 EMA. That is check, because the 5 a.m. accumulation hour, which I showed you guys, is below the EMA. So it fulfills rule number 1. Rule number 2, I marked out the manipulation hour with 2 vertical lines. So I marked out the 6 a.m. EST hourly candle with 2 vertical lines, because it makes it a lot easier for me to spot that 5-minute fair value gap that I need in order to enter the trade, or to confirm that I can enter the trade. So that would be from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. EST. Third rule, wait for buy side liquidity from the accumulation hour to be swept. And buy side liquidity is referring to the buy stops over here. It was swept. And yes, so it was swept. So I can say the 5 a.m. accumulation hourly candle was swept. Check. The manipulation hour candle must close within the accumulation hour range. If you take a look, it closed well inside of the range, forming a bearish CRT. Check. Look for the first 5-minute fair value gap formed during the manipulation hour, which is in this little box, right? It was formed within that manipulation hour, which is good. And it formed it at around, let's take a look. Oh yeah, it might stop us out again. It formed at around 650. So we're going to go here and write that down, 650. AM EST. The bearish 5-minute fair value gap needs to be filled either in the manipulation or distribution hour. It was filled during the 6 a.m. manipulation hour. Wait, was it? Nope. It was filled during the 7 a.m. distribution hour. Target the opposing liquidity from the accumulation hour. So based on that, it would have been like a 3.08 R. And just to kind of give you an idea, I talked about my trade execution. I believe I had an excellent entry for this setup. The problem is I allowed my emotions to get in the way of the trade. I should have just gone to bed and allowed the trade to either hit my stop loss or take profit. Emotional state during the trade setup. My emotions caused me to pass up on a potentially lucrative trade opportunity. I make a promise to trust the process entirely, as it's going to elevate me to an elite trader status. And the most important unique insight that I got out of here is that allowing emotions to interfere with your trading edge is going to cost you more money in the long run. You know, this trade I would have netted about 560. So I'm basically reminding myself to trust the process, because the process is what got me to this level in my account, which is like about 4,000 plus per account. The CRT model works. It just takes time, discipline, and being able to allow the price to hit your stop loss or take profit. So that's what I should have done during that time. But it is what it is. This is kind of what I have to do with any trade that I take. Take it, record it for my stats so I can improve on every trade setup. Speaking of trade, let's see what's going to happen with the other one. Now that we've done a little bit of journaling, I'm caught up with that journal. So I now can go to 6J and see what it's going to do. Okay, so not gonna lie to you, this is gonna get a little dicey. That's just what it is. So with this, price has gone here and is pushing down. Now there's a good chance it will hopefully pop out, get it out of this drawdown. But at this point in time, again, it's hands off. I'm not allowed to touch it. I'm not allowed to overanalyze this and like, ooh, maybe this random shooting star that appears at this level could cause the price to go down and do all that. All that nonsense, chuck it out of the window and just stick to the trading plan. Either it hits the stop loss or it hits the take profit. This is very important to trade this specific edge. If you start to super overanalyze after you've entered the trade, it messes up that risk to reward. So part of me, or part of the process that I have to take as a trader, is I have to strictly follow the edge. Follow what it tells me to do. And what it tells me to do is risk small, go big. Risk small, go big. That's how you maintain a profitable edge using this CRT model that I use for all of my trades. Now, this trade in particular, it is a counter trend. So even if I were to log it, it would violate rule number 1. But I am anticipating that based on the bullish SAR dots, based on, now this is where little discretion is coming in, that the 6J has been dropping down and down and down and down, there's a good chance that it will most likely want to like push up to even retest that 50 EMA. And if it's willing to at least retest, by the time it even gets there, we would have hit our take profit. But this could easily just be another higher low situation. That's the tricky part about it. You don't really know. It's just you taking a chance. But based on the risk, it's worth taking that chance. So we'll let it do its thing. I'm going to put this on pause and, well, I'm going to put this microphone on mute. Got to handle a few things. And I'll be back to kind of update you guys on the trading progress. Okay, I'm back. It looks like the price has pushed down on that originally spot where we had that 5-minute fair value gap. So with this being said, we just have to see what happens next. I'm going to take a look at the chat and see if we have any questions that you'd like me to answer. And yeah, we just have to wait it out, see what happens next. On the brighter note, gold is definitely pumping. So I'm going to be eyeing gold and see if there might be an opportunity for me to take a counter trend move. I think tonight is going to be a counter trend night, unfortunately. But we'll see, because if gold is already pumping up at like 39 points, there's a good chance where it might form a CRT setup where I could enter on. But I have to see what happens, because whenever it comes to these trades, I only take one trade at a time. I don't like taking multiple trades at the same time because I just don't feel very comfortable in that state. I'd rather take one trade, win or loss, then after it's complete, then I move on to the next one. Okay, I think it might stop us out. So right now, it's pushing towards that stop. At this moment in time, we do not try to move the stop. We don't try to do anything but stick to our risk management. We said that we were willing to take that hit, then we have to take the hit. So that's the key thing about this trading system, is it requires me to be consistent no matter what. So let's see what happens. All right. I've been stopped out. Let's see what happens now. So we've taken an official loss of 103.47. Now I did take a chance on this trade setup. I took it because I was hoping that the bullish SOR dots would have moved it above, but in this case, it didn't. It just formed this bearish red candle. So on this case, we took a hit of 103.47. So I want to record that in my log so I know how much money I've taken a hit on today. So we're going to go to TradeZella. And then we're going to go to Notebook. And then we're going to go and click, we're going to log the day, which would be today. There we go. And here, we're going to simply say, at least in terms of risk, so trade 1, 6J, total risk was 103. Actually look at the trades. So 103.47 was the risk on this setup. So total risk was 103.47. Now because it's 103.47, because my initial balance was at 4,000 initially. Initial balance was 4,000. Let me see. Was plus 3,953.24. The original balance was $4,056.71. So we're going to write that down. So $4,056.71. Which means $400 max risk. It's $400 max risk, including fees and commissions. Yeah. So lost the trade. So total loss is 103.47. Remaining capital is going to be 400 minus 103.47, which is 296.53. So yeah, that's how I usually kind of log. So I know I'm following my risk management system in place. So I have a remaining capital of 296.53. I'm going to have to keep that in mind whenever I'm looking for any setups. So kind of sucks, but it's part of the process. So we got to keep moving forward. I don't know why it took me out like that. One sec. 1 second here. Okay. So now that we've taken a hit on that, the best move for right now is I'm going to have to look and see if I can catch a clean setup that is not counter trend, that follows the rules consistently. So I'm going to take a look, see if we can catch anything. Now, based on the way this is working right now, realistically, we're probably going to have to see a setup maybe towards the London session. Now, we are looking at the ES, and I am looking at the NQ. If we could wait one more hour, hopefully it will shift it to go bullish, but that's not a guarantee. So we want to look at GC, and then we're going to look at HG. Definitely wants to go up, but as long as it's below this 50 EMA, that's still a bearish directional bias. So in this case, after looking at everything, I would have to simply say that the best thing to do in this scenario is to simply wait for another setup. Hopefully, I'm going to wait a few hours, see if I can get a really clean textbook setup on my metals, 6J or NQ. So this is going to be it for the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It kind of sucks that we took a hit, but I need to really wait for an A+ setup right now. I did take a chance on 6J, even though it was counter trend, because I was trying to see if I could catch a setup. But at the moment, setup wise, it's not the best. So I'm just going to close the stream. And if I do find a really good setup, I will open up the London stream at some point. But I'm really eyeing this ES setup, because if we play our cards right and it does kind of move in our favor, we might have a play. But realistically, the stream has been going on for about 2 hours and 14 minutes. So I'm just going to stop it for right now. And yeah, keep moving forward. And eventually we're going to catch a good setup. And when we catch that setup, I'll be there. Okay. Peace out.